Are we better off enjoying our lives as individuals, looking inside and really introspecting, enjoying our time alone? Or are we better off engaging with others, being part of a community, and really centering our lives around others? Well, nothing highlights this dilemma more than the recent situation with the corona outbreak and this week's Parsha. Recently, we've been seeing the importance of social distancing and how much humans can impact one another. The impact people have on each other is incredible, and what begins as a virus in Wuhan, China, can go on to ravage communities in South America. And so we learned such a powerful lesson about how all humans are connected and how sometimes we really need to self-isolate, self-quarantine, social distance, and stay far from one another. And yet at the same time, we also learn how connected we are. So there's such an importance to the time we spend alone and to the time that we are connected with one another, because we really depend on one another. And this is something that's very much highlighted by this week's Parsha. The irony of this week's Parsha being called Vayakhel, which means gathering, at a time of social distancing is kind of interesting. So Moses gathers the entire Jewish people, and he warns them and he tells them, listen guys, you are going to build a Mishkan, you're going to come together and build a tabernacle, a house for communal living, a house to congregate together. And yet, please remember, the Shabbat. The Shabbat is so important that you rest on Shabbat. In fact, you may not engage in any form of building the Mishkan on Shabbat. So even though building the tabernacle, the temple for God, is so important, don't forget the Shabbat. The tabernacle, the Mishkan, represents us all coming together. In fact, we donate a machatzita shekel, a half a silver coin, to show that no one person is complete without the other. It's the ultimate expression of coming together, and yet God tells us, don't forget Shabbat. Shabbat is a time we withdraw into ourselves. We rest. We focus on the message of Shabbat, the message of creation, of revelation, of the ultimate redemption, Geula, as Rabbi Sachs puts it, and that is the idea of Shabbat, coming in, connecting to God in the most intimate way. So let's remember at these times, we're all connected to each other, but sometimes you have to turn inwards. You have to social distance. You have to self-isolate. And that's the idea of Shabbat. And I know a lot of people are going to have a difficult time this week because they're not going to be able to go to synagogue. They're not going to be able to go to their favorite class. Kids won't be able to go to their play dates, and friends won't be able to meet up on Shabbat. But let's take this opportunity to remember Shabbat is about being able also to introspect, to reflect, to look on what is it that makes each and every one of us unique and special, and our deep connection to God. And so this is an opportunity really for us to focus not only on the message of the Mishkan, of the coming together, but also the message of Shabbat. May it be a beautiful, meaningful, healthy, and